So just got my AR put together. It's done with using an 80% lower, and it shoots just fine. Awesome, actually. You know, I went through several rounds and didn't have a mishap at all. Fired every single round. No cycling issues whatsoever. But the thing I have noticed, and it's more just a picky thing, is if this trigger, you can kind of see that the pin's kind of loose, and therefore the trigger kind of has a little bit of slop in it. And so really there's a couple options that I've thought about for fixing this. One is to put bushings in here for the correct size pins, but if I did that, I'd have to, you know, drill a bigger hole in there, add a press bushing or a screw-in bushing, and you know, it just not going to look the same, and I could never have it go back to looking this way without the bushings in there. Not saying it's the end of the world, but hopefully before I drill bigger holes, I wanted to go with one option. And I actually bought a set of K&S Antiwalk and anti-turn pins or non-rotation pins. And I actually ended up getting the .1555 diameter pins instead of this mil-spec .154, just to try to take up some of that gap and see if I can get them to wiggle a little bit less. There's several other anti-walk pins that'll keep them in the holes that are a little bit cheaper. This set's about 30 bucks. There's several other sets that you can get to do that with. However, the key to these ones is these bars actually connect from here to here, as you'll see after I get done, and hopefully keep this all into with spec using these bars to tie them in together. So hopefully it'll stop future wear and also keep them in line with each other into mil-spec standards. So the first thing you want to do is going to take out these connecting rods and kind of figure out which way you want to put them. Obviously, you have a slot right here, and that goes to your one pin that's got a slot you can kind of see. And then your other one's got a hole through it, and that's for the one that you screw into. So obviously they're going to sit like this. You can either have them like that, or you can turn them like this. It's kind of just personal preference which way you like them. I think I kind of like it like that, so I'm going to try those out, and if it doesn't work, I can always change it later. First thing, obviously take that out. And you're going to want to, it's going to be easiest to take the upper off while you do this. So now we've got the rear and front takedown pins pulled. So now we can just take it up, and it should break apart from the upper. Set the upper aside for right now because you don't really need that. What you're needing to do that for is so you can press down the hammer and everything, so you can get, when you put these pins out, you don't have stuff flying all over the place. So the first thing I would do is pull the trigger and slowly let the hammer up, so you'll relieve tension there because you don't want to be engaged there while you're doing it. So the first thing I would do is take whatever pin you're going to use, and like you're going to want to push this pin in as you push the other pin out. So I'm just going to work on that. You might have to hold some pressure on this. It's going to work definitely better if you have two hands. Okay, so now that we got our camera set up so you can kind of see what I'm doing, I'm going to take, like I said, have this pin and hit it in at the same time the other's coming out, and also press in on the trigger. I'm doing that. So now that we're lined up on the hammer pin side, just so it doesn't come out, I'm going to go ahead and screw each side in loosely using the Torx bit supplied. Go snug. They've got Loctite on the screws, so they're going to stay in place fairly well. Again, they're not tight by any means, but that way it just keeps it in place. So now we're going to do the same method on the back for the trigger pin, and just simply hit that pin in as we drive the other pin out. So both the original mil-spec pins are out. now we just have that pins all the way through now, once we get it lined up. So now obviously we've got to line it up with the dog bone, which means we're going to have to take the screw off, unless you have a pair of pliers to line it up. The easiest way is going to be to take this off, and you got to line up this slot, if you can see that, with this slot right here. And so to do that, the easiest way, like I said, put it on there and turn the pin until you can line up your screw. So once you get that, turn all this all the way in. Since it's done, you're all lined up, and you want it to stay in place while you do this other side. So it's probably just spinning the other side right now, so I'm going to have to get this side in place. Now I can take the supplied wrenches, there's 2 of them, and put them on both sides of this nut so it doesn't spin, because I think it's just spinning right now when I've been tightening it. And now I can tighten these down to, they say, 11 inch-pounds. But like I said, I don't have a torque wrench on them, so it's just going to be whatever I feel is sufficient without stripping the screws. So now we're going to see if we fixed all the play. So if you're looking at this, there's really no play in the hammer anymore, which is good. So now, since we can't see the pin, we're going to look at this trigger. There's not really any play in that either, so I don't know how well you can see it, but there's not play in that. So I'm really happy with that. I didn't have to drill new holes. It's going to keep it from rotating the pins. The bushings wouldn't do that. They could still walk out. So for 30 bucks, it would cost me just as much with the bushings, and I could have messed that up and then pretty much screwed up my whole lower, whereas this fixes that. So I'm really happy, and I kind of like the look of it. So that's a fix if you have your holes drilled too big or your lower is weakened over time from shooting thousands of rounds. That's an option that's very viable, and I like it.